What's the worst thing you learned after someone died? I found this package with no return address and my name in shaky handwriting. Inside was a photo of a teenage girl holding a baby and a letter saying, "You don't know me, but I'm your mother." I actually laughed. My adoptive parents said my birth mother was a teenage addict who dumped me and probably overdosed. But this girl looked exactly like me. She begged me to meet her before it was too late. I went to the hospital where I was born and convinced a nurse to pull my records. Her face went white as she read them, and she shoved the papers at me before walking away. My mother was 16 when she had me, and the intake forms painted this horrible picture. She came in with her jaw broken and wired shut so she couldn't even scream during labor. 2 broken ribs that made every breath agony. Defensive wounds all over her arms like she'd been fighting for her life. The nurse back then wrote notes about how she kept staring at the door and flinching whenever someone walked by like she was waiting for someone to drag her back. After I was born, they brought me to her, and she held me for exactly 1 hour before signing the papers to give me up. The note she left was smudged from tears and said, "Please keep her safe from him. He said he'll hurt her if she cries." I spent money I didn't have on a private investigator, and what he found made me throw up in his office bathroom. My father wasn't some scared teenage boyfriend. He was 24 when he got my 16-year-old mother pregnant. The police report started when she was 5 months pregnant with him breaking her nose first, then her wrist a month later. The night before I was born, he grabbed her by the throat and told her he would hurt the baby if it cried too much. She walked 8 miles to the hospital while in labor because she thought he might follow if she called an ambulance. The investigator kept pulling out papers, and I kept feeling sicker. He showed me records of my mother coming back to the hospital every single month for 2 years, asking if anyone had adopted me yet. She needed to know I went to a good family before she could disappear. The nurses remembered her because she always brought teddy bears that she'd hold before leaving them at the desk, even though they couldn't give them to me. 17 bears total that probably ended up in some donation bin. My father spent 3 years hunting for us. The investigator had reports from hospitals and orphanages in 5 states where he'd shown up with my baby picture demanding to know where his daughter was. Meanwhile, my mother was running from shelter to shelter using fake names, basically using herself as bait to keep him chasing shadows while I grew up safe in another state with a different name. Then came the part that destroyed me. My biological father died in prison when I was 15 after stabbing another inmate. That's when my mother started looking for me because she'd waited until he couldn't hurt me anymore. The investigator found dozens of letters she'd sent to my adoptive parents begging them to tell me the truth. Every letter asked the same desperate questions. Was I happy? Was I loved? Was I safe? Did I laugh? Did I have friends? One letter said, "I dream about her calling someone else mama, and it breaks me and makes me grateful at the same time." She'd been fighting cancer for 2 years but refused treatment that might slow her search. She finally found me through a DNA website 2 weeks ago. That package was the last thing she did. I drove straight to my parents' house with those papers crumpled in my fist, and my mom's face just crumbled before I even finished talking. They knew the whole time. They knew everything. "We thought we were protecting you," my dad said while my mother sobbed into her hands. "What good would it do for you to know your mother chose your safety over keeping you?" They showed me this box full of her letters that started arriving when I was 15, right after my biological father died. She'd spent years begging them to tell me the truth, but they kept deciding I was better off not knowing about the violence. They said I didn't need that burden. They'd been telling her I was happy and safe but wouldn't let her contact me. They even told her I didn't want to know about her.